But when it comes to like expressing something in front of an audience or something, people would expect that someone who cannot talk in a very close knit situation like that would have a
Will
difficult
have.
will have a difficulty facing that, because even when it comes to people who are comfortable in those situations, which I freak out to some extent, freak out in those situations where they just freak out. Like while for me it's a no big deal, I know what to talk about, I have the
I know.
space to talk about what I want to talk about. So
Yeah.
like, oh, this is home. This is what I know. This is
Exactly.
what.
So
Hey home, welcome back to another episode of Exploring Beyond the Superficial podcast. This is a three-part series of my conversation with Ratula, who is a childhood friend of mine and a PhD researcher. This three-part series is surrounding the topic of growing up and handling life as a geek, which is a level both me and Ratula fall under. This episode is part 2 of the three-part series. If you haven't already, also just to go through part 1 before going through this episode, otherwise it will hurt my OCD. In part 1, which is the previous episode, we discussed the geek way of communication, how weird we are, fitting in, pissing people off, boundaries, how education divides people based on different tiers, and we answered important questions like, are geeks devoid of emotion, and how organized or distracted are we? And for part 2, which is this episode, we discuss a specific speech that made me famous in high school. We also go through the concepts of religion, metaphysics, the mind body connection, visualizing ideas, and managing the day as a geek, choosing a career as a geek, and of course, commitment versus attachment, and introversion versus extroversion versus public speaking. So let's dig in. This is I'm not that good with boundaries yet, but I have gotten better at communication. I mean, uh, earlier during school and stuff, I would completely suck at communication. Like one on one is fine. I've always been good at that, but
I
handling,
know.
yeah. But
Oh my God, Aditya, I just remembered something. I have to say this. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
please, please.
You remember that speech you gave at the assembly?
Oh, that I remember.
But was it just to piss others off, or or was it like just because you felt like this is an interesting topic, or it was both, a little bit of both?
Actually, it was a bit of three.
Three, okay.
Yeah. So, so I've been an atheist for a very long time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I turned atheist very early, like compared to the many other atheists I have come across now. Like there's another podcast that I participate in.
Yeah,
There's
I think I read the highlights of it in Instagram or something. Maybe just this overview kind of.
huh,
Yeah,
might
go
be.
on.
Yeah. So, like just for context, I there's a channel called Skeptic Heaven, and they make atheism related content and discussion related that field, not just atheism, in cultures and stuff as well. I found them through social media. I interacted with them, and now I have become a staple there. Like I attend their, like I'm as a both as a guest and both as a host. I've
Ah,
been there
really?
quite a few times, and that
That's
is really cool
amazing.
because they're good people, and since they are international, so through them I get to know a lot of different cultures, which is very fascinating for
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
Like
yeah. For me as well, cultural, different people. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. For me, it's very interesting.
and the thing is, talking to random people from different cultures doesn't give you much insight. You need to find the right people who actually understands the culture. It's
Yeah,
not just from the culture, actually understands. And
yeah.
there are people like that because they are critical thinkers. So that is a very good discovery that
Good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh,
That's very nice.
and even for them, most of them, not all, there are other many who grew up atheistic very early as well, but most of them became atheists in much later phase in their life when they came across different stuff. So I became atheist quite early. So early that I didn't even know
Ah,
that I was an atheist. It took me
so your atheism was also part of one of the three reasons that you gave, because of which you gave that speech.
not exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a part of the reason, but it was a contributing factor. So I I became atheist in class 5, but I didn't know I was an atheist. The transition happened in class 4. By 5 I was an atheist, but it was in class 9 or 10 when I realized that I was an atheist. Because I didn't know about that label. I didn't know the differences. I didn't know the terms.
Yeah, of
I
course.
suddenly came across it and, oh, that is me.
This is
Okay,
me.
so this is who
Oh
I
my
am.
god, this is happening so much to me these days. Anyway.
And after that, I got a little more curious about other religions. Like I was curious about our cultures and rituals and stuff, which is why which kind of turned me atheist. Dug deep into it and realized this is dumb. Why am I doing it? And I became atheist. So anyway, and around that, I became curious about other sects as well. And before around that time, there was an incident when some other I don't remember, most probably some junior, might not be some junior, someone from our, no, it cannot be a junior. It was a class thing. So somewhere from
So
our
maybe
class.
classmate, yeah.
Might not be classmate. I think it was from some other section. I did not know the person well. Otherwise, I would have remembered who the person was. So they were doing some speech about something about different religions and mostly talking good about them. And the speech was boring, to be honest. It was very boring.
Half of them were.
Yeah, half of them were. Yeah, but that particular one was really boring, and it was unnecessarily long. So boring plus long is not good.
Yeah.
But so they got cut off. They got cut off, and they're like, it's getting too long, and they had to stop pretty small. But the thing was, they got cut off after completing Christianity. So I did not like that.
Okay.
I did not like that. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So my initial goal for the speech was talking about different religions, their origins in a concise way, obviously. Otherwise, it can go hours. In a concise way, and how they're not exactly practical, but there are some few things that are good about them. And I started with Christianity. I started with Jesus. But I realized that it was so much about Jesus that I did not have time to look into anything else. So I just noted, I didn't even prepare a speech. Like,
I know, you showed it to me in the bus. I still remember that.
I just noted down some points that had a scope of me forgetting, because I'm not exactly, memory is not something I take pride of. So that was just my speech, just some points that I can go back to. And that was a combination of the two goals, like curiosity and figuring out the other stuff, and that curiosity stuff. The second was actually, pinching them a bit that wasn't right. This is, let me give you back.
Oh my god.
And the third was just to see if I can get away with it. See, I was young, I was dumb.
You could take some risks.
It wasn't about the risk. It was about, it wasn't about taking the risk. It was about enjoying the risk. Like, it feels a little dumb when I am much older now. Like, not exactly I'm old, but older than that.
Like, older than then?
Yeah. Wiser than that. I can say that I have been dumb in a few phases there. So that was one of the dumb thing. Like, I wanted that thing about being risky. That attention that comes with it. That was fun. So it was a combination of that three. And like, after I completed the speech, it wasn't that big, actually. The speech wasn't that big.
It was very small, I remember.
Yeah, it wasn't
you talked about test tube babies.
Yeah. I don't remember the entire thing, but I remember the main things. I mean, the gist was it was about
that virgin. Yeah, you just said that if there was Virgin Mary, then how Jesus was born, because at that time there were no concept of test tube babies. I remember this part. Clearly, this was the gist of
yeah, and that was the highlight. That became the highlight. That wasn't supposed to be the highlight.
Somehow that became the highlight.
That became the highlight. And the main summary of the speech was that this is Jesus. He probably was real, but the miracles about him is not real. That is made up. Don't believe in that. But Jesus himself had a good life. He had some good messages. So irrespective of the miracles being uh, false and dumb, his messages are good. That is the summary. That did not become the highlight. Of course, the highlight became the test tube babies because everyone remembered that.
Was like, oh my God, Virgin Mary. And anyway, no, but I think the you kind of try to humanize Jesus, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
they,
The goal
if I think about it,
that
there
actually is
might
true.
have, yeah, that is true.
See, the pinching part was one of the reasons, but that wasn't the goal.
I understand. You wanted to say that there might have been someone like Jesus who did a lot of good things,
Actually,
and
most historians believe that Jesus was real,
yeah,
like
yeah,
not the image you have of Jesus.
yeah, but a different. Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah,
but there was a guy who went through some of the phases.
exactly.
So
So,
yeah,
something, and maybe with most of the things, this is what happened. Like most of the religions. So okay, we are slowly shifting towards spirituality and stuff
yeah, that
like
is
that.
fine. See, see,
But
that
that
is
is
the thing. The
fine.
thing is, we are curious people, and
Yeah, I mean,
we don't stop at the rabbit hole. We go into it. That
we
is the
go
thing.
deep into it, right?
That
Like
is
we
what
go
makes us
there
who we are.
poking.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I have so
My
I
saddest,
have
that is true,
yeah,
and
sorry.
my saddest example of that is Buddha, because
Okay.
Buddha was a real people. There
Yeah,
is,
yeah, there's
see,
a person. Yeah,
with
yeah.
Jesus, there's a little bit of controversy because that is way back, and these
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
different records contradict each
Mm-hmm.
other. But for Buddha, he was real. That is an undeniable fact. That there is
Mm-hmm.
proper empirical evidence with it. But if you look at the teachings of Buddha, which I
Mm-hmm.
like I haven't really studied it, but I know the basics
Mm-hmm.
and I like his teachings. Like, even though
Mm-hmm.
I'm an atheist, I appreciate him.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Mm-hmm.
fun fact is, in part of his teachings, he never called himself God or messenger of God. He rather
Mm-hmm.
refuted the concept of God.
Okay.
But today in Buddhism, Buddha has
Mm.
become a god. Like, they have their
Yeah, yeah, he has been
mythology now.
given. Yeah.
That
Even
is a
if you
very disappointing development.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Even if you think about Swami Vivekananda, he was someone very real. We all know
No, no,
he
he
was
was
someone
real.
very
He was
real.
definitely
Yeah,
real.
no, 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 he was real. But the place that people place him as is like about his miracle. There are also like there are also people who says that puts him at a pedestal. This. So I have a problem with people placing these icons on pedestal and washing them to an extent that they kind of forget that they forget to humanize them, let's say, and that they were so that is a problem. So my personal take, to say, like, on spirituality and things like that, I grew up in a very religious family. Like, my parents and everyone, they were pretty religious and all.
My parents are also
But
religious.
yeah,
I mean, my
not
parents,
extremely.
yeah, they're not extremely. Like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
call my parents orthodox. They're not orthodox.
no, 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 no,
And
no,
based on
neither
the
mine.
other parents I know,
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
parents are
very
not
less.
that religious.
Yeah,
They are
exactly.
religious, but not that.
It's they will go to Durga Puja, let's say.
Yeah,
They would. When I was young, we would have Saraswati Puja.
yeah.
So those things were like there. Uh, but I think when I was in class seventh or eighth, around that time, I kind of I got interested in science. I was open to this field of science and everything. And I was like, okay, this doesn't make sense. No, this doesn't make sense. No, this does kind of like you, but I was not someone who was very vocal about it, but it was something very personal to me, and I didn't believe in a lot. And by the time I got to class 10th and 11th, I think there was a point where I was like completely like, no, this doesn't make sense to me. So at that age, uh, throughout college, even, I was also, there were times, I mean, I always had this dichotomy, let's say, where I was sometimes bit like, yeah, I'm someone studying engineering. I have a very logical mind. I can reason things out. I can reason anything out. So this doesn't make
You
sense
would
to
be
me.
you probably already know, but you would be disappointed to realize that you are not the majority. You are the minority when it comes to thinking like that.
Okay. Okay. I thought I was. Okay. Uh,
So if you look around, see,
hmm,
we have been to college. We know a lot of people who also went to college. But
hmm.
how many of them would you consider actually think critically?
Not
Even
a
though they,
lot. I would say 95% no.
that's the disappointing fact, but that is true.
Yeah. So I don't think your education is serving you any purpose if you are not questioning things around you.
Yeah, totally. In
Your
India,
education, yeah,
India is not exactly the exception, but the percentage varies. So in India, the percentage is disappointingly higher, where
yeah,
education is just about the prestige and the opportunities that comes with it. It's not
yeah,
about
exactly.
being knowledgeable.
Really knowing something, right?
Yeah,
It's not about really diving deep into, and it's a little bit of a disappointing fact, and it is something I have also seen Indians who come abroad, but still they stick with the same mentality. It's not like you come abroad and suddenly everything opens up in your mind, you know.
yeah, totally.
It's not.
Indians
It's about the
carried,
individual. It's an individual thing. If you want to be flexible, you can keep an open mind. If you do not want to be that, you can still be the same person you were back at home.
yeah,
So
Indians have carried casteism outside of India. Like
yeah,
how this,
yeah,
this is how this is so disappointing.
and this is something like
I'm not sure if it has happened in Germany, but Germany is quite close to Britain,
mhm.
and it's not Britain now though. It's quite close
No,
to
no, no, no. Yeah, so
UK, and UK
yeah,
had a issue where they were like casteism become an issue. The government tried
yeah,
to put down rules against it, and Indians protested against it, claiming it to be a part of culture,
I know,
mainly
I
led by
know.
Hindu Mahasabha, one of the very
Yeah.
problematic organizations out there. So I'm
I
not sure,
mean,
but it's still
so
disappointing.
it is not like once you come out of there, everything changes. Because I have a lot of friends studying abroad. I know a lot of people staying abroad uh, who are the same people that they were back at home, or who were the same kind, who carry still the same kind of mentality, and they are like, oh, I'm here just for a degree and then I go back to India and do a job or something, something like that. But your purpose is not the job. Your purpose is that you are here learning, you're exposed to a new culture so that
Yeah,
you can grasp as much, you absorb as much as possible. I mean, what are you going to do with a job? It just gives you some money and that's it, right? Like, what are
yeah,
you going to
yes,
do
yes.
with it if it's not like you are? So yeah, speaking about the spirituality thing, so the for me right now, as this is something, I think I have realized this right now when I'm doing research, is because in research you go down to the very detail of things, right? like
Yeah,
like
of
very
course.
minute, when you really do it seriously.
Yeah.
And when you when you do that, I have, in my experience has been that when I do that, there is a point after which I don't know how it happened, or no one knows how it happened. There is a
Of course.
point there, you will reach a point, because we are constantly trying to logically think, okay, this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason, this is the reason, but in
And
every paper that
that
is there,
limit
sorry.
that limit keeps on changing. Like
Yeah,
if you look
someone
at
will keep pushing it. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
understand. With
as
new
humanity progresses, the
understanding,
limit will
yeah,
keep
with in
changing.
understanding, yeah. But at this point, I always feel after a certain point, I cannot go. Not only me, because of lack of experience, even my boss's boss, they also cannot go, because they understand that at this point, maybe our human understanding is not there to reach to that extent of knowledge or whatever. Or maybe after this point, we really don't know how it happened. There
There's a
are
lot
some
of stuff like
problems.
that.
Yeah, it's like a more of an egg and the chicken problem. Who came first? No one knows, and no one knows how it happened. So in those circumstances, when I'm faced with, because this is something I have deeply thought about, and this is something even I have faced at my research as well. And when stuffs like this happen, I really think that I do not believe in any god. I do not believe in any kind of religion, because organized religion is something I have I'm very strong against this concept, this organized religion thing. Anyway, so I do not believe in those things that much. But I I am kind of humbled, let's say, at a point to think that okay, there is some things in nature that is happening, which is because I also work with biology, so I actually
Yeah.
get to know it. I get to see it with my own eyes, and you have to trust me. I'm talking about, let's say, I'm talking about plant ovules. Okay, I say you have no idea how a thing that small, that microscopic can be so organized, that can be so precisely organized, every tissue, every layer, everything, and no one has a freaking out idea of how it happened, and this is a fascinating thing. And this is, I think, the curiosity, this is where my curiosity stems from originally,
Yeah, totally.
and there is a point after which I cannot go, after which no one can go. And it is the same for every single paper that people publish.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
after a point, there is always a space of limitation you will
Yeah,
see
of
at the end
course.
of it, because it cannot go. Okay. And these are the times I think maybe there is a higher form of energy. I think of God or something, if I have to believe in something, let's say, I think it is a kind of energy, if I talk in metaphysics terms, okay, like
Yeah,
quantum physics and stuff
how
like
does
that.
metaphysics play in? Like, I'm not talking about the general consensus, like how average person feels. Like, for an average person, metaphysics is like a religion. Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
yeah,
use
yeah,
it as
yeah.
an excuse to explain bullshit.
Um,
But
yeah,
how
I
does
have.
it work with the actual research field? Like, now that you are
Uh,
there.
I don't think about it as so with my actual research world, I would say I haven't experienced the concept of metaphysics as much, but I have read about things. So I also read a lot of books. I love reading, storybooks and
Yeah,
everything, and sort of fiction, non-fiction both. And I
I
read
have
a
a
lot
book.
of non-fiction. Yeah, I read a lot of non-fiction, and recently my interest has been to study psychology, and I have gone
Welcome
deep
to the
into it.
club.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have gone deep into it, okay? And I have read some researches where they think about this power of manifestation and things like that, where they talk about this mind body concept of how what you are thinking is basically controlling your body. So if you can change your thought patterns, your body,
It is
everything,
true
your
to some
hormones,
extent.
yeah,
And
I think it is true to a lot
like
of, mostly.
I haven't exactly read particular books on that, but I've researched on that in many secondary levels, and
Yeah.
it is kind of interconnected. Like, it's not just your mind making your body work like that, it's also your body making your mind
Yeah,
think
it's
like that.
it's like a feedback loop
Yeah, yeah,
that keeps
exactly.
happening.
Uh,
Uh,
we have a it's called idiom, I think. Idiom say that
mhm.
trust your gut feeling. The funny
Yeah.
thing is,
No,
like,
proverb.
is
Idiom
it a
is
proverb?
something. Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
proverb. No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah. Idiom
so
is, I think. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
yeah,
We are not
actually,
literature people.
so we have this saying that trust your gut feeling. The
Mhm.
funny thing is, although it doesn't match with the context of that sentence, guts do contribute to our thinking.
Exactly. You have to read these researchers on Gabor Mate,
No
Dr.
idea.
Gabor Mate. He's like, so it's not, you don't have to read. He has a lot of TED talks. He has a lot of things out there.
Okay.
He has written a lot
No,
of books on
I listen a
YouTube.
lot of podcasts. Like, I have, I'm sure they have refilled it now. But once I started it, like, I have
Hmm.
completed the entire TED Talks podcast, all of them.
Yeah. I also listen a lot of podcasts. That's what I do in the lab
Oh,
when I'm working.
I also prefer to listen to podcasts while working. I don't listen to music. I listen to podcasts.
Yeah, me too.
And that was a good podcast that you suggested. Yes
Yeah.
theory.
The yes theory. Yes theory
Uh,
is good, right?
yeah.
I'll also send you a few other links as well. One is Dr. Carolina Leaf, and she's also a psychologist, and
Oh,
her work is
nice.
also great. And this is Gabor Mate and Joe Dispenza. I think there are two, three people who are working on this area. And so, yeah, the mind body connection. So, yeah, there is really something. So, if you have a gut feeling, it is really your gut signaling to you like there is
Yeah.
something wrong.
Actually, the gut feeling thing does not come from gut. The
I
guts
think it
contain.
comes from the vagus nerve, right? Because
I'm not
this is the
sure about
nerve.
that.
This is the longest nerve in your body that kind of
Okay.
connect to here and the uh, up to your spine. It goes out from
Ah,
the back of the head to
ah.
spine, the vagus nerve.
I still
And
don't remember it correctly, but it feels like I've heard it somewhere.
yeah, I think I read somewhere that when you then sometimes you enter a room, and you immediately feel like something is off. Like for some people can do it. Like for me, I know I can sense it, like the feeling, like the general
Uh-huh.
feeling. And
This is not exactly an exception. This is something. The
yeah, yeah,
level
something I
varies,
think
but
everyone,
yeah.
yeah, the level varies exactly. So the level kind of varies depending on, I think, how sensitive you are, kind of like how you are perceiving things like that. Okay, so yeah, those are different conversations. Yeah, so I was talking about this researches that they are doing and psychology that is going on in the world, and they really say that this thing that people call manifestation, that you think something and it really happens. So think positive things, it really happens.
Yeah.
So what they say is like, it's nothing, it's just, so there is a concept of brain and the concept of mind. Okay, and brain is the physical object. It's like the physical object, and the brain cannot do anything by itself. It is controlled by an electromagnetic field, and it is a
Uh-huh.
measurable electromagnetic field, that is
Totally.
the mind.
Yeah.
you know and that mind controls the brain. So if you can change your mind, basically the field that there is, it can control the thought patterns, and that will again affect your body. People say that I do not feel good when I am sitting next to a person who is toxic for me. Let's say, it is true. They do not feel good. And it is not like they are making it up. It is not like they are saying, but we all have a different electromagnetic field. I have a different one, and that person maybe is having a completely different one. And the charge is so if you are in close proximity, your charge is continuously being exchanged. And there's a clash, and you will feel it in your body that you do not feel good, or you do not want to be nearby, or something like that. So this
I
is
have
something.
I have heard about that theory.
Hmm.
Like I don't agree with it at all. I mean, the way it is explained and all that field and stuff, that is something that
Yeah,
doesn't make
yeah,
sense to me.
I
But
know that is the concept of, they link it with metaphysics. Actually,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
the
So like
concept. Yeah, yeah.
I feel the
I don't know,
explanation
I
to be very
haven't.
dumb, but this mind-body connection is
Yeah,
something
yeah,
that has a lot of study on.
yeah.
Within our
Mind body
body we
connection is
have a lot
something
of like control over each
true.
other. So
True, 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 true.
that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that thing with about not feeling well around people that is toxic
Mm-hmm.
for you, I don't
Mm-hmm.
agree with the electromagnetic, that kind of like over miraculous explanation.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something that we have a subconscious system, like the our brain is constantly learning with our experiences, so it
Yeah.
develops shortcuts,
Hmm.
and that
No.
shortcuts kind of helps us make decisions without consciously thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah,
See, for
yeah.
example,
That's true. That is true. Hmm.
we are constantly breathing, but we don't have to think about breathing to breathe. So it's something,
Hmm.
that kind of situation. For example, people who are into martial arts, like the
Hmm.
actual martial artists, uh, when they are fighting, they have turned it into complete reflex. Like if we
Hmm.
see a punch approaching, we will see
Hmm.
the punch approaching, we will process it, realize that
And
okay,
then we'll, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
a
Then
punch
we'll,
is coming, we have to
hmm,
dodge it.
turn on the other
Yeah,
side. Yeah, yeah.
but for the highly skilled martial arts, they have been doing it for so long and so meticulously, they have turned it into reflex. They don't have to see a
Think.
punch. Yeah, they don't have to think that a punch is approaching. A punch approaches, their subconscious takes care of it. So that is
Mm-hmm.
something our brain learns and develops into these shortcuts where
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to think about it. It gives us signals.
Hmm.
But explaining it through the metaphysical things is something that I feel
Yeah,
very
yeah.
stupid, but
Metaphysics is
that part is
something.
there.
Yeah, but I also think about this part, when you are like, when I'm talking about, being in vicinity of a toxic person or something that is toxic for you. I think it is also have to do something with you yourself, because so the way I am feeling, suppose I do not like this person, right? The person is saying, the fact that I do not like this person might have something to do with whatever the person is doing, or whatever the person is kind of projecting. That is the general behavior. But then if I take it in a way like, oh god, she's always annoying me, why is she always annoying me, and if I keep thinking about it, constantly, even if when the person is not there, Even if
Hmm.
when the person is away and I'm thinking, oh God, she's exhausting me. I do not like this person. We all go through this, she's exhausting me. This has, I think, more to do with me because
Yeah.
this is she's a trigger. She's a trigger point that okay, but she triggered something in me that I am thinking about even when she's not there. And like that is affecting me. So that is when the whole thing becomes toxic. So I think the
I
ideal
got.
aim is to be sitting with people, even toxic, non-toxic, let's not judge because every person is different. You have to talk. If you at a workplace, you have to stay with everyone,
Yeah.
you
There's
have to work
also
with
a
everyone.
thing about like how well someone functions with another. I mean, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sometimes something in a lot of cases, the people themselves might not be bad, but they might be bad for each other. So
Yeah, bad for
that
each
is a
other.
very
Exactly,
common
exactly. That
thing
is
where
that's what I'm telling. That's exactly where I'm hitting at. And the idea is to sit there. You're getting you are getting triggered, but you are not supposed to act on it, or you are not supposed to be. You should be like, okay, the person is saying something, and that is their problem, not mine. To be
yeah,
able to objectively separate that is a very something I struggle with at times. uh,
this is something
uh
I'm surprisingly good at.
yes, you are. I think so, you are. And maybe it is something that comes naturally to you, which doesn't
I'm
come
not sure.
naturally to me.
It might come naturally. Like I'm sure a
Mm.
part of it does come naturally, but I have also worked on developing it, so it's a bit of both. But then
Yeah,
again,
yeah, this is
if
something.
you if something comes naturally to you,
Hmm.
it makes sense for you to develop it further.
Yeah, because it is easier to develop it
Yeah.
further then. And for me, it is an acquired skill at the moment that I'm learning, that I am kind of being like, okay, the person can sit next to me, the person can be anywhere near me, can trigger me, but I have to objectively see what she's saying, or what I am thinking, and if our goals are same or not. If it is not, then it is her problem, not mine. I mean, kind of, I have to let it be okay with it. And
You
it is
should look into stoicism. That kind of speaks about that.
exactly. I have been recommended to look into
I
stoicism,
have
and I am
I
doing
haven't
it.
I
I'm doing
I
this
have
right
a
now.
few videos on that. Like I'm not
Yeah,
an
maybe you can see. No, but you can send me, because this is something I'm actively working towards,
yeah.
stoicism. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I read a few Stoic literature, but I haven't completed it. It's like I got a bit distracted. Some
Hmm.
few other stuff came up, and I that took a pause so long that I haven't
I
gone
have
back
a
to it.
question.
Yes,
Is the tattoo memento mori because of that?
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Now I get it. Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah. That is directly linked to Stoicism, and
That's a basic philosophy, right?
uh, Stoicism has I think 7 or 9 tenets. One of them is memento mori.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
there is another called amar fate.
Yeah, Amar Fati. Yeah.
Like it's faith, like fat faith, but the pronunciation is fate in
Hmm.
Greek language. Amar fate is basically accepting fate because you cannot control fate.
Yeah, cannot control.
Memento mori is remember you will die. Then there is
Hmm.
memento something. I'm not remembering it. Memento,
There is
which
one
means
thing. Yeah,
live,
sorry.
which means live because you're alive. Like you are alive, so enjoy it.
Hmm.
So it's a
Hmm.
bit yin
Yeah,
yang of memento mori,
yeah.
and that's something I don't know that very well. The thing is, I was going historically, like
Hmm.
chronologically. So I went up to Seneca. I
Hmm.
have read a bit of Seneca. I haven't completed all his work. Then I got
Hmm.
distracted.
Hmm.
Now I'm reading Gita.
Very good. I'm also reading something. I'm reading Dante's Divine Comedy.
Oh, Dante's Inferno. Do you know
Yeah, so they
the
have
whole
three
concept?
parts.
The whole concept
They-
of hell
Yeah,
does not originate from Bible. It
I
originates from
know.
Dante's Inferno,
I know.
which is very
You
funny
have to.
because Dante's Inferno was him making fun of the churches. So it's
I
like
know
it's
the
so
story.
funny.
I know the story, and it is so funny.
This is
And
by the
if
way.
you very good,
No,
very
I
good, very
haven't read
good.
much. Like I am here.
No, I mean you just read at your own pace. These things are
This is
something.
900 fucking pages long.
uh,
But
I
the thing
have
is,
it in my. So I have a goal
the
that I want to read. Gita, Bible, and Quran. These three things I need to read. I want to read.
Oh,
I want to
same
read
here.
to
They are
know.
on my list as well.
Yeah,
But
they're on my
one thing
list.
though, this Gita is 900 pages long, not because Gita itself is long, but because this talks about
Is
the
it
verse.
abridged version?
No, no, no. Gita is not long. Gita is not very big. Gita has like
Okay.
how many chapters? Wait, Gita has chapter 9, 10, 15, 18 chapters. 18 chapters with quite a few verses. So it's not like just 18 pages. It's longer than that, but not 900 pages. This is so long because it explains the verses, gives their thoughts, which is beneficial because
Very good because you have side notes then.
yeah. Now, this is from ISKCON. So
This is from
obviously it
ISKCON.
is very biased, and like when you read through the explanations, you will understand the kind of propaganda they're
Right.
pushing,
Right.
but it does give the context. There is one
Hmm.
thing I will give: they did not change the main text. Like the name of the book is Gita as it is, and surprisingly, it really is Gita as it is. Like they did not change the
That's very good.
verses, which something they would be very incentivized to do. But the reason is not that benevolent. It's not because they want. They did not. They did not change Gita because they want to have a more positive outlook, but because they actually believe the bad parts of Gita as well. So, but
Okay.
that
But
is
it's
irrelevant.
okay. But I
Yeah.
think this is
At least
the
they're not changing it, so it gives me what
yeah,
I
this
need.
is the most because you also need the how do I say the references of how things are because
Yeah,
if you read
like
just the Gita, there are a lot of things you will not you will not
yeah,
understand.
like
Yeah.
Gita is written in Sanskrit.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
although
You're
I
not
can
reading it.
understand a bit of Sanskrit because Bengali, like we both
It
know
stems
Bengali.
from that.
Yeah. So I can make out more a few of the things, but I cannot make it out fully. So the context is helpful for me. So it does help. Like
Right.
it does help.
Right. But for me, so the Dante's Inferno that I'm reading, so it has three parts basically:
Oh, I didn't know.
Inferno, Purgatory, and Paradise.
Oh,
These
okay.
three,
Acha.
it's divided into three parts, and I am reading it online. Actually, they have a very good resource at Brown University, which is an online. I'll give it to you maybe if you are interested sometimes. And it is
You
like
read
a
a lot on Kindle, I know.
I read on Kindle, but this is on computer. I'm reading because
Okay.
it has also the side note of the researches. So it is not a
Oh.
biased literature. It's a
No,
these are
Dante's Inferno is not biased. It's a satire.
it's
Like,
a satire.
yeah.
Exactly, it's a satire because he meets everyone in hell who he didn't like in
Yeah.
real life.
Like
Basically, it
Dante's
is so
Inferno
fun.
is one of the best revenge stories to ever exist. It was so successful that concept of hell become a mainstream part of Christianity.
No, but you know why? Because now when I read it, because the original one was written in Latin and everything, so I do not
Oh, acha,
understand that,
okay.
So I am reading it in English and everything. But I know why it was so successful because the imageries that he used, like the horrible description of each. So he tells that hell is divided into nine parts, and in each of the circle there are imageries like the description is so vivid that you will really feel it when you read it. Like he's talking about um, I don't know, insects eating people, and then people scratching on some things, just trying to get out of there, but they know they cannot get out, and like, oh my God, it's terrible. It's just,
Yeah.
oh my God, I got little goosebumps when I read it, and so I think that is one of the aspects because of which it was so popular.
Yeah. And
Because
the thing is that you talked about imagery, and since it described it so vividly, what happened was the Christian authorities. I'm not talking about common people, the Catholic Church, the
yeah.
Protestant Church, etc. I think
Hmm.
Catholic was the primary one back then. Anyway,
Yeah.
the church bodies,
Hmm.
they used that imagery to bring out the fear factor and promote
In
Christianity further.
people.
So they
Yeah,
kind of facilitate
exactly.
in popularizing it.
Exactly, which is a very funny thing if you imagine, because it's a piece of literature basically that you're using as
So is
a
Bible.
part of your religion.
So is
No.
Bible. It's just a piece of literature.
And yeah, and when you really read Inferno, you know where so as these imageries were so vivid, there were people who thought maybe Dante really visited hell in his dreams. Like he really went there and saw it, and he actually knows what happens. And there are people who still now believe this to be true.
Oh, there
And
are people. There are
there
people
are
who believe
people.
Earth to be flat. People can be very dumb.
No, there are people who believe this to be true because why I'm telling you, it is not only religion, it's not only anything like that. It is because how he described the the circles of hell, and it exactly. So there have been research. I think you will love this. I will send this to you. There have been researchers done who could map this entire Dante's Inferno, and it leads to the center of the earth. So there is a mapping basically done with
Oh,
and I don't remember the person who
damn,
first
this
did
is
it.
very interesting.
Yeah, I maybe I'll just send you the link. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't remember exactly the person who the name who did it early back then. They mapped it, the coordinates. They even mapped, and that was the first instance in human history to introduce the concept of cartography, the science of mapping. And from there,
Oh,
the science of mapping developed. There are studies done that actually uh, talk about this. Oh, but wait, I have notes because when I study, I take notes, and I have notes.
I kind of do that now. Maybe because
Yeah,
like this is something my parents and teachers as well didn't like about me, is that I didn't take notes. Maybe I think it was because I did not care much about
exactly. I also think when you care about something you are reading
yeah.
or
See,
something, I will take
you,
notes.
you can see this is one, this is two, three, four. There
I
are four
know.
segments where the different stages are there, and there are several notes
Yeah,
here.
I know. So I have also diaries with like literally
Yeah. Oh,
pages and pages of
I
notes.
have seen your notes before. Your notes are very messy, but I know
Yeah,
you
I
can make
know.
them out.
But yeah, but no one else will understand it. That is my notes.
Yeah.
No one else have idea
I
about it.
I don't remember which one I checked, but I checked one. I did figure it out though.
Yeah, I mean it is
I have a
written
thing
in a
about
logical way,
like
but it is written in my way. So that is
yeah,
a
I know.
um
It's not that I can figure it out in a glance. I can figure it out
mhm.
because I'm not gonna stop at but looking and realizing, hey, wait, this is not clear. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
stop there. I cannot
exactly
stop there. I
because
have to figure it
90%
out.
because 90% of the people stop there, and that is the
Yeah,
problem with me. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
I was.
remembered so since I'm design, so
Hmm.
since I design, there's a little bit of sketching involved. I don't sketch as
Yeah, I
much
know
as
you
many
have a
other designers.
diary. I know.
Yeah. So uh, oh, okay, that was infamous. So that doesn't
Another
exist.
one?
So and now what happens is, yeah, so when it comes to UI UX involves a lot of flows. So that
Yeah.
is mainly where a little most of my sketching comes from. In terms of other phase of design, I usually think in my head and put it out instead
Right.
of going to sketches.
Hmm.
And I was there are design forums and stuff,
Hmm.
and I posted one of them in a for a different discussion. Like I had a different
Okay.
query, I was bringing up a conversation, and to have something posted, I posted a photo of my sketching, and half
Hmm.
of the comments was, "How are you clean with your sketching? My sketching shall not like this."
I know, right? Like, it's just different people. Like, if I do a rough sketch, oh my God, if you see my lab notebook sometime, Aditya, you will freak out. You will be like,
I can
what the
imagine.
fuck?
I can
So
imagine.
that's why I'm very particular of not showing anyone my lab notebook. I'm like, I cannot have people being because everywhere on the side something is drawn, something is written like this, like
You
this, like
also
this.
doodle a
And
lot.
yeah, all a lot. I doodle like crazy, and I also like on my I even doodle on my post-it notes. So you can
I don't
imagine.
use post-it notes. I tried
I
using
use
them,
a
then
lot.
I got too lazy about it and I dropped it.
No.
I just
Now I
take notes
have
on my
to.
diary.
Yeah, I have to do this. So I have a lot of post-it notes, and even there I doodle a little bit. Like okay, so this is because I think in a way. No, I think in drawings. You know,
Huh.
so this is how I think. Um, when I'm thinking about a problem, if I cannot visualize it, I won't be able to think about a solution for it. So I have to think of it in terms of drawing, and I am lucky that my job is a very visual job. My job is with simulations, with creating meshes, with creating, these things, graphic
What
designing
do
and
you
everything.
use to create the messes? Like there's some kind.
I generally use Gmesh. Gmesh is very good for, it's a software that you can use. AutoCAD is something you can use too, but for more advanced stages.
AutoCAD is more for designing something.
Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah.
I when
It's
I
more
say
for,
designing, like you can use it to create messes, but it's more about visualizing the 3D design that you can actually
yeah, yeah,
transfer into
yeah.
physical
Exactly,
aspect and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah,
Physical
that's what
aspect. So
auto.
it's more complex. So for me, Gmesh works really well.
I see.
That's what I use for generating meshes. Yeah. So I work with a lot of designing aspects of things like this and everything. So for me, the visual aspect is a big part of my job, and I'm lucky. And I think even in future, if I take up anything, any position, this is a thing I want to keep in my mind, that I want to work with something that is a visual project, something, because if I cannot visualize it, I cannot think it. So this is how I do my work. I cannot think in numbers, I do not think in text, I cannot.
I have a different go around with that.
Hmm.
My visualization happens inside. Like I'm drawing, redrawing, scrapping
Hmm.
out stuff, blah blah blah, inside my head. When I feel like I have something solid,
Then it
but
comes out on the paper.
yeah, then it comes out on the paper.
So that's why it is clean.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why it is
that's why it
clean.
is clear.
But my entire thing, what is going on in my head, I have to have it on paper.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I cannot. It is not processing well. So I do not do the entire thinking in my head. I will do it in my private notebook. There will be a lot of things going on there, and then everything I have. Everything has a rough draft and then a final draft. No, a pre-final draft and maybe then a final draft.
Okay. Okay. My draft, I usually directly have a final draft.
Hmm.
Like it's a semi-final draft. Like after, so I have three stages. The
Hmm.
one is the major part where I'm constantly
Yeah.
thinking about it, which can go from anywhere to anywhere. The second stage is me writing it down or jotting it down
Yeah.
in some form, which is
Yeah.
almost final.
Hmm.
Like there are maybe, if I'm writing, then maybe there are just grammatical changes
Yeah.
or maybe rephrasing a few sentences, but the base
Hmm.
doesn't change a lot from the written draft to the typed out draft.
Hmm.
And uh, for the drawing it for the drawing it is more like me testing out a bit, like visually it makes sense, but I'm seeing that if it makes sense when I'm putting it out as well before I
Right.
actually develop it. So
Right.
those are my three stages, where the first stage takes up the most amount of the
Yeah.
processing.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of time, I think, for you. And for you, I think that's why it's even harder for people to understand you a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah, yeah. That is
because
completely
that
true.
process is so long for you,
And
that
plus,
because
it is something I cannot show.
no, it's
That is the main
yeah,
problem.
exactly. Because it is not long for you, let's say, it's long for it's the same for people who think, it's maybe a little bit here and there, but it's same for people who think, but you are doing it entirely in your head, which is something you do. And at least for me, I'm not, whatever is there, I need to jot it down because I need to be able to see it like in front of me,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
everything is clear.
Yeah, yeah.
you
That
know
kind of makes people a bit uncomfortable if they're not,
yeah, yeah,
if they have never walked with me before, because they will be like, how is the progress? And I'll be like that
exactly,
I have,
exactly.
yeah, I'll be like that I have reached somewhere, but I need to figure out a little bit more. And they will be like, can
Yeah,
you see something? I'll be like, it's in my head. And of course, they will be puzzled that
exactly.
how can I trust you?
Oh my god.
You
So
might be just slacking off.
when people tell me, okay, so where is the progress? But my progress is my messy notes. I cannot show that to people. It's still cooking in my head, half of it, and half of it is in my paper, and it will come out, and I'm like, it's happening. And then my only explanation is, it's there, it's cooking. So that's why, because I'm in a project where I work with a lot of different people, and there are people who gets anxious and everything. So that's why I am trying now to really tell that, okay, this is how I work. I am going to reply to emails only once a week, and that is going to be Friday for me. Otherwise, it is too disruptive for me, and it is hard for me to work otherwise. So this is just something I hope everyone can be comfortable with. I am just trying to, yeah,
I use a
verbalize it.
That is nice. That is a good strategy. I use a
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
different kind of strategy. Like I divide my day into two parts when it comes to the job part. The third part is just me
Mm,
spending my time. Uh,
mm,
the first part is the operational part. I get that shit done first because I know that is finite. Like I'm
mm.
not gonna take an entire day to type an email. That's a 5 minute
Exactly,
thing. I'll be done
exactly. I
and get
mean,
away with it. So
I
I
also want to do it like first thing in the morning and get it out of my head.
yeah. So that's something I to go through all the notifications, all the replies and stuff first. Which also let's say there's something to do. I also get what to do in that phase because that is
Mm.
part of the process where I'm okay, I received it, I'll take care of.
Yeah,
And while I'm doing that, I'm also thinking about the job I have. So that's a second hand visualization that happens. So by the
yeah.
time I actually start putting it out, I have some
Mm.
sort of idea that I have already developed inside my head. So I push the
Exactly.
volume.
Oh my God, how do I explain? Oh my God, it feels so relatable. That
I can
like
understand it.
people will just tell me sometimes that, yeah, how can you you just said you had nothing, you are delaying this thing like for like maybe a month or something, you said you had nothing, but how do you just present it just the day after you say you have nothing? And I cannot explain it to people that it is very complicated process happening in my brain, because I perform at the stage. Like when I need to perform, I perform. When I need to meet a deadline, I meet a deadline. When I need to, but I will not do it in your way. I will not do it in a way which
Yeah.
is stereotypical. I will not, but I will do it. I
This
will
is
do it.
something we are both good at, but
Hmm.
I've seen most other geeks are not good at, which is
Ah,
being comfortable with the stage presence. Like you are good at,
ah,
you are very comfortable on stage.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So am I. Like you are at least like I can see that you have turned a little towards introversion now, but that
Yeah,
as
it's
far
a
as I
little bit
remember,
hard.
I remember
No,
you as
I'm
an
not as
extrovert.
much, not as much as in school. I would say no, no, no. I'm not that sort of a person anymore. Let's say who
Yeah.
would be
So
very, yeah.
at least you
But this
had
is all, yeah,
that. Like at least you were
yeah,
outgoing. But even
yeah,
when it comes to outgoing people, I know a lot of people who are like extrovert as fuck, but you
yeah,
put them on stage, they will just freak out. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
rarely talk to people. You put me on
But still
stage,
you
I
will,
don't care.
exactly,
It's the
you
same
can
for me. I
hold
don't
on
care.
as, yeah, for me as well. I can carry out a conversation on stage if, because I know that. So like for me, how I can tell about it is like I have progress meetings, every 6 months, and it happens with yeah.
I have every week.
No, every week there is lab meeting, and progress meeting is like of the entire project of the, but that is more serious for me. Progress
But
meeting is
I can see how the difference is. Like although I'm comparing just to feel
no,
disappointed,
I
but
understand. No, no,
yeah,
no,
there's
I understand, because every week progress meeting for me, even the lab meeting is very much stressful, because I do not have anything every week. I do not. I
but the
cannot.
scale of project is also very different. Like the
Yeah,
thing you
very
are
different.
working will take maybe more than a year to complete. While
Yeah,
what
yeah,
I am working is probably take 1 or 2 months to complete.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
for
yeah, of
that,
course.
monthly meeting
So for
doesn't make
me, no, no, no. The weekly meetings for me is more like, so my strategy to deal with it is I will show as less as possible. I might show even one slide. No, I will show one slide, but I will give a full description of what I did on one thing. That
okay,
is my progress meeting,
okay.
so because
That's good.
so that my boss can see the critical thinking involved. That is it. I do not have to speak much. I do not speak much in my lab meetings. I just say, my lab meeting is the fastest one that happens, because I am someone who has a vision of the entire story in my head, that is building up, that will happen, that is building up in my head. It is building up, uh, but just so that people do not get paranoid, just so that people do not feel that, I'm doing nothing and blah blah blah, I just give them, okay, you want some progress, I will give you one slide, but you have to sit down and listen to entire description of how I did one slide. so my manager is also quite okay with that. Let's say he is also someone who appreciates deep critical thinking about something, and that is something we get
That is
along
nice.
with.
That is nice.
That is good to.
You really need to have to find the right fit of where you're working
Yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah. I
all
think I got
places for
lucky. Yeah,
everyone.
yeah. No, no, no. Because I can clearly imagine this thing not working in the Indian context. PhD, trust me. If I go to my boss in India doing a PhD, I just say, yeah, I just thought about some things today. This is not going to play out well.
And this is something that people find confusing about me, because let's say like I'm attending some social event
Yeah.
which I attend just for the sake of maintaining a social connection so that people don't think I have
So
died.
you have like a social avatar there.
Yeah, so that people realize that okay, he's still alive. So,
Oh
but
my God, yeah.
when that happens, I'm usually a wallflower. Like,
Yeah.
unless and until
Like
some,
awkward a little
yeah,
bit, yeah.
there are either two situations, like where I'm comfortable. Either someone is
Yeah.
talking directly to me, or
Hmm.
they're having a conversation where I have something to contribute. Like
Right.
they're talking something, I know, okay, this is something I can talk about,
Hmm.
and like there is enough gaps where I can speak in. Like even if I
Yeah,
have
yeah.
something to contribute, I'm not gonna barge in and like interrupt and
Just
say,
take the space or something.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah. So
understand.
other
Hmm.
than when that doesn't happen, which is like more common than it
Hmm.
should comfortably be, then I'm a wallflower. Like I'm just sitting there, just existing. But when it comes to like expressing something in front of an audience or something, people would expect that someone who cannot talk in a very close knit situation like that would have a
Will
difficult
have.
will have a difficulty facing that, because even when
Hmm.
it comes to people who are comfortable in those situations, which I freak out
Hmm.
to some extent, freak out in those situations where they just freak out. Like while for me it's no big deal, I know what to talk about, I have the
I know.
space to talk about what I want to talk about. So
Yeah.
like, oh, this is home, this is what I know, this is
Exactly.
what.
So this is something that is happening to me after I shifted here. It was not the same in India, and I exactly relate to you because generally, because after I came to this project, I was so overwhelmed, more than I think overwhelmed is not the right word. I think I was so in awe that, oh my God, this can happen. This can be a field. This is so cool. Like I felt like I was doing the coolest job in the entire planet. Okay. Like I was like,
To be
okay,
honest,
I'm
I
doing.
might consider PhD after some years. Like I have a few other priorities that I need to take care of,
Yeah,
but
but
after that, I
do it at
might
the right
prioritize.
space,
Oh, of course,
maybe
I
do it
have
at the
no hurry. I don't have anything
yeah,
to
yeah,
prove to
yeah, yeah,
anyone.
do it at the right space. No, not space, because you need, I think you will find some really interesting projects and people that you would relate with outside India. Maybe
Yeah,
it is not
it
something
will be possible in India too, but the thing is,
you have
uh,
to search,
yeah,
you
we
have
have to
to be
find
very,
it.
you have
You
to
have to
find it.
find a
Yeah, yeah,
place. Yes. The thing
yeah.
is,
But
when you're living at some place now,
mm,
uh, you are habituated with some parts of the place. You don't really know
yes,
the place in all
true,
of
true,
itself.
true,
But
true,
since
true.
you have been living there, you have a bubble vision of that place. You don't
Tunnel
know.
vision, let's say. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
You, you,
you don't
you.
know what exists beyond that, within that place itself. But since you
Exactly.
don't know what you don't know how
Yeah,
to find it. So that
yeah,
creates a weird kind of
yeah,
barrier.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, I understand.
maybe
And
you thought that like maybe you were finding the same thing that you might have
ye-
found in your home,
maybe,
but you didn't
I
find
would have
it there.
found.
You
Yeah,
had to come here to find it.
exactly. For me, maybe I mean, even if I'm sure there are labs in India where these things, I know labs in IISc, like some really cool labs that work with some really cool stuff, and the professors there are also pretty cool. So, there are places, but you have to really look because
Yeah,
I also feel, now, and if you also do a PhD a few years later on, you will be at a much more matured state of mind to take decision of where you want to work
yeah,
and
yeah.
what exactly you
Very true.
want out of that work scenario, because you have previous experience now,
Yeah,
what exactly you want. at at a point when I was leaving college, let's say, it was a little bit of a risk for me that I took, and I ended up being at a place where my curiosity is nurtured, where people are supportive and stuff like that. I ended up, and it is like it might have gone very
I
wrong.
do
It might
think
have.
you had a confusing few months though.
Yeah. I had a period of around 6 months, which was like very confusing for me.
Yeah, I'm sure
Uh,
that
I,
wasn't a very pleasant place because we had a
no,
few conversations then. Although I didn't bring up the
no,
topic, but I could sense it.
no, it was not. But I think that time was necessary for me, where I really got to sit down, focus, because I was also working at like 10 different works at that time, because I had to do something to keep my mind. Because I
Okay.
was someone who didn't sit for campusing. Like
Oh, you
I
didn't sit
had
for
a
the person.
no, I
Oh,
had
I
a
didn't either, but I didn't know that.
9.01 GPA, and I did
I
not sit
had,
for
I
campusing.
think I had 6.7 at the end. I'm not sure.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't care. I just
Who-
remembered it because people asked me, and once you answered the same question a quite few times, you kind of remembered what the answer is.
no. I mean, I know exactly where your 6.7 comes from, so I'm not a someone who would say anything about it. I know that 6.7 can be a 9.7 if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, if I
Mm.
cared enough, which is
Yeah,
why,
yeah.
which is something that I'm at fault at for not getting into a better college, because back then I was choosing engineering just because it seemed like a better option, not because I wanted to do it. So I
Yeah,
really
me
didn't
too,
put
I
any effort
think.
behind it. I
I
really
also
didn't put any
think so.
effort.
I think so. So for me, as I didn't sit for campusing, and then the COVID hit, and my plans
Ah.
to go abroad was pretty much, shattered and
Oh,
everything. And
you had that intention from the beginning, it seems.
yeah, that I would be, because I gave my GRE, I gave my TOEFL, so everything was kind of
Oh,
for me. It was, I knew I didn't want to do a PhD in India, because I did not believe in this system of net, let's say, and it this exam that you have
yeah,
to
in India, I
qualify,
know.
and yeah, and it is something that judges you on a lot of scales and parameters that I don't think is has any value of being a good student or a bad student, or like a good or
Oh,
bad
I have no
PhD
idea
candidate.
about that, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
have
I just
read
know
some
that
of
the
the
exam
materials.
exists.
Yeah. So I was very much against it, and I knew a little bit from here and there about the Indian PhD scenario, and I was not very much keen, like, or interested on that.
This is
And I
something that,
didn't explore. Yeah,
no, you
sorry.
can complete.
Yeah. So I was not much interested, but then I had like 6 months, and COVID was also one of the factors
Ah,
that went into it, at that time. And I was
COVID
at
was an
home.
interesting period.
Oh my God. I was at home. I had nothing else to do. I was like, okay, I have a pretty decent GPA. I did this, I did the degree. Now what? I didn't sit for campusing, and I didn't sit for campusing because I was so adamant that I do not want tech, a job, like a corporate job. If I have to go, I have to go PhD, and the PhD has to be outside. So I made I filtered it down to a point when my parents again were like, you are taking a risk. It's a huge risk. I'm like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? I will not get anything. I'll get some job, do the shit, get it done, get it.
Yeah,
Like
getting a job is actually very easy. People don't realize it.
yeah, exactly. I have I have an MTech. I can find something, and yeah, I have to just ask the right people. And I'll get a job. And during that time, I think I had six. I think I actually got this position in Germany just because I had 6 months and I had nothing to do, so I started applying everywhere. And anyway, so this is actually, I don't talk about it much, but this is actually the funny thing that I had. And you know how this position came along, I'll tell you. So I had an offer from Taiwan. I already had an offer from Taiwan, and I also was almost done with the second stage of interview from an university in US, and everything. But the funding there somehow fell off due to COVID, or there was some issue with the funding. And with the timeline, I was not
Oh,
getting the
yeah.
visa because of COVID.
America was hit very bad during the
Yeah,
COVID.
The funding,
US.
many fundings were
I'm not
falling
sure
off.
about
And
the funding. I'm talking about the COVID attack. Like,
yeah, they were.
Trump was in power back
Oh
then,
my
so
God.
he
Anyway,
was
I
a
used to
total
hear
disaster. And he
Anyway,
handled the COVID situation very poorly. So yeah.
yeah. So, and the offer that I had from Taiwan, it kind of was like the visa situation was a little dicey. The professor still held out the position for me, but the visa situation was not great. And in the meantime, while returning from this visa interview for Taiwan, from Kolkata to my place, to Kuch Bihar, on the train, I saw there is an advertisement of this university. I have never heard the name of this university. I didn't know. I had no idea. Okay. I had no idea of PU. I just knew Germany is a country that there's something happened and that's it. That's the
Germany
knowledge
has a
I
good
had of Germany.
reputation when it comes to research and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. That all I got to know after I got after I passed the interview, and I didn't even check the ranking. I didn't even check anything. I had very less idea, and I just said, "Oh, there is an advertisement on the train," and I was like, "Okay, I have my CV. Let me just send it, because I'm also sending to 10 different places." And then I get an interview call, and hey, would you like to do an interview? Yeah, why not? I have done 10 other interviews as well. What's another one? I'll do it. Then I got a second interview call. And then I was like, oh, this shit is real. Maybe I should search about this university now. Okay. And then I searched, and then I was like, oh shit, it's world rank 49. And like, huh? Never heard about it, because I'm always hearing about US universities, all the time. I have that in my head. And then I got offered the position, and it happened so quickly after that. And I was like, huh? So I actually get to go there. So this is how the whole thing happened for me. I was very, very unaware of what was happening.
Oh, that's
So for
good.
me, it
That's
didn't even feel like. And during the whole pandemic time, when I was going through the situation, I think I sent out around 50 applications or 60, and I think from there I got 5 callbacks, and I think I secured 2 interviews or 3 interviews or something. So it was tough,
ah,
because I was also applying to very niche field, and my expertise was computation biology. So my thesis was in machine learning, and but from a biology background, and yeah, it was like a little bit different.
yeah.
Uh,
The niching down kind of happens gradually, so
Gradually,
that kind of
yeah,
makes
yeah.
sense.
So for me, college was the time when I already was very sure by the end of my college, because I already had a very huge research exposure in my college. I was publishing, I was, in good stand research wise back in college. And I knew if I had to do something, I will do something with computation. I will do something with computation. And this was in my mind for sure. The biology aspect was not that much. I it was
Why
Biology
did
is
you choose
something.
biotech then? Was it
No,
just
no,
because something you got?
biology is something which comes very naturally to me. Biology is something I don't think much.
Okay.
It's like you tell me to do a macroscopy, I will sit down and do it like a robot, because I have an training of it. I have, but the thing that really makes me kind of excited, and really really is the computation part.
Ah, cool.
So that is, I think, a very nice combination that I have. That I Biology is something I had in 11th, 12th, and I think it's also because a part of my parents wanted me to do biology. Maybe
Ah,
I think that's why I was shifted to biology. And I was also
I
raised
get
up,
it.
let's
Yes.
say, let's say, in thinking that biology is the thing for me. And I'm like, yeah, biology is cool. I'm learning about my body. Oh, I'm learning about this. Genetic engineering. Wow, sounds super cool. So I played along with this, but this competition thing was also there in me. I mean, I cannot take it out. And this logical computation minded thing, I really enjoy the solving, debugging codes. I know it is a pain in the ass for some people, but for me, I love debugging.
I
I
don't like decoding.
No, I can sit with
That is
error
one of
codes
the
for long.
reasons that I shifted from code. Like,
Ah,
yeah.
okay.
So I do like coding. It's not that I don't like it, but I shift.
I'm sure you love coding. I have no problem understanding that you
Yeah,
love coding.
but the thing is, see, this is one thing I like about it, that I'm not sure how correct I am, but it always felt like you kind of knew what you wanted to do quite early on. I might
People
be wrong,
think
at least
that.
it felt like that.
People think that because I also believe, let's say in my head, let's say because I was good at school, right? I was good at because I was producing results.
Surprisingly, I
I
was too.
was
I don't know how.
yeah, you were. So
I mean, you were
we
at
were
least studious. I
performing.
wasn't.
Studious in the sense I followed some syllabus. I mean, I was just like, yeah, like,
No, by studious, I mean you actually spent hours properly studying,
yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah, yeah,
homework
yeah.
correctly, going
Yeah.
through the assignments correctly, and those
Yeah,
stuff.
I became a rebel much later on, in my
Okay.
life. I didn't start it like from my
I
kindergarten, like you.
wasn't exactly a rebel in school per se. Like, I mean, even back then, I didn't give a fuck about social norms, but I wasn't exactly a rebel. Like, I wouldn't describe me as such. But I wasn't studious. I wouldn't
Yeah,
call me that.
yeah,
Like I do
yeah,
more,
I
I study
understand.
more now that I have nothing to do with study than I used to do back then when I had to do something with study.
No, I did the other way around. Back then I did study, and now I'm more like, "Yeah, now I can do whatever I want. I don't care about people. I don't care about any social norms. I already did the hard work back then, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Now I don't have any exams to give, any marks to chase, although I never chased marks or exams.
yeah.
Like I don't have any syllabus to complete, but I'm studying now.
That is great to know. I think the balance is important. We both are a little bit off balance on both aspects, and we did things our way. Yeah, yeah. So I- everyone, it's not you telling me this. I think a lot of people have told me this, that they always thought that I knew what I wanted to do with my life. But even in college, people say that, yeah, Rafi always knew what she wants.
You kind of
She
had that
got it.
answer to that question. I mean, your answers changed over the time, which
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense
yeah,
as we grow, our answers change
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, which is completely fine. But you had an answer. I didn't.
Yeah, but for me, having an answer means, what I like to do. I like to have a vision. Let's say even now, I know what I want after my PhD. I know it, but I also know people, and it might change. It might change depending on the situation, scenario. But I will somehow reach, even if I do not reach that goal, I will might reach something surrounding it, because I am in my mind, I weigh the pros and cons and things I want to do, things I like to do, the my personal commitments, my things, and I can make a, let's say, yeah, like I told you, I can make a flow chart in my head and I can narrow it down. Yeah, and I do it with everything in my life. Okay, and so even now I have a very rough vision. Like if like imagine me telling you this. I don't know if you will believe this or not. I want to, at one point in my life, just go out and do something with neuroscience, and do some volunteering work related to neuroscience, and want to have some real world impact. And it might have nothing to do with my field that I'm working right now. And I, I might really consider this at one point. And reaching there is not easy, reaching that goal, but maybe it will not be a postdoc after my PhD. Maybe it will be something else, an apprenticeship or something like that, where I will slowly learn the skills, take it up. And but my broad vision is that, I have a broad goal in my mind.
Yeah, that's nice. That's
So
something that interests me as well. Like not
yeah.
as in like not in a way that I will go out and become a scientist researching neuroscience, but that
Mhm.
field interests me because that field is connected with us understanding ourselves, because
Exactly.
neuroscience is brain and
Exactly.
brain is us. So I
Yeah,
am
yeah.
attracted
It's
to
like
that field, but I'm not saying that I will go out and research in that field, but I
no,
do find that field fascinating.
exactly.
That field
And
is also something that is not as developed as some many other fields of
no, no,
science, so
no,
I
no,
know
no,
that
no.
won't be easy.
Exactly. It won't be easy, and it won't be easy for me to come from plant science and do that. But but what I think is, I have a tech background as well.
Yeah,
And that is something I can use, because in brain simulation is something which is very, I mean, these are all like scattered thoughts in my mind right now. These are all something that will add up one day, something. But I know these scattered thoughts are important because I have done
yeah,
this previously as well.
that is
And
true.
that led me to where I am right now. So I know this is how I think, that I have a very broad goal. I like this, and this is, and I think my whole life's journey is just to know better about who I am, who the fuck I am. Trying to figure
I
myself out.
feel that is important. Most people don't do that, which is
No, I
disappointing,
think
but I find
that is
that
the
to be
most
important.
important. I think that
I
is the
think to be
most
most.
important thing, and I think I also want to have a career or anything that aligns with that more and more. I mean, at initial stages of my life, I couldn't maybe do it because I had to have a stand to be able to do it. I have to
Yeah.
create that space for myself, and then I can go out there and do whatever I want to do. But I think it is slowly becoming clear for me. But I don't know. So yeah. So when I tell you, when people tell me that, yeah, you always knew what you. No, I didn't always know. I don't know how. I really don't know right now how to go from here to there. I haven't even completed
But
my PhD yet.
what I mean by that is you at least knew what you were going to do next.
Yeah, yeah. I know there is a next step. I'm not paranoid. I'm not like, oh, okay.
No, I'm not
Next,
talking about paranoid. Like, I have never been
there are
paranoid.
people. There are people who are literally paranoid.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
there are.
there are
There
like,
are.
oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and it's like a daily conversation in their life. Which is kind of. I think there are three kinds of people. One, extremely paranoid about the future. One, just going with the flow. They're like, whatever happens. And one is like, okay, I need to have a vision so that I'm not paranoid. I need to have it. Let's see how we get there. You're chill about it. Let's see. And that, I think, kind of gives me confidence in the way towards it. It might also be that I do not finish this PhD. There might be circumstances because of which I might drop out. I mean, there might be a number of things that might happen tomorrow because of which something might happen. But that goal doesn't change because of it for me.
Yeah.
So it is not nothing I'm doing at the moment is related to that thing.
Yeah. That is completely fine. I've heard a saying like you should be rigid with your goal but flexible with the path towards it. And I
Exactly,
completely agree with
exactly,
that thought.
exactly. I have a very strong vision, but I am easy on myself. Because if I am not easy on myself and I'm putting a lot of pressure of myself, and I'm like, oh God, I have to perform now, otherwise I'll never reach there, I'll never reach it. I cannot enjoy this process, first of all. I will never get this thing done completely, first of all. I'm very, and I think this is a place where people like you are kind of like an inspiration. You all people can be like, yeah, see, we don't know what we want to do tomorrow, but we are still fine. So it's completely fine just doing what you are doing now, you know? And I think that is a very good mentality to have. I mean, I wish I could have that. And yeah, this is how I structure my thoughts.
No, I do think having a vision is important. What I add on to that is it's okay to not have a vision. Like you need to find your vision, but
Yeah.
till the time you have found what you want to do, it's
Hmm.
okay not to know what you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
do.
That
Don't
that
freak
I
out with
completely
that.
agree. Yeah. That I completely agree. I mean, I didn't come up with that thought in like immediately after my college, right? I came with PhD, and then I was enjoying this part so much, not enjoying as per se. Let's say I was so much involved, let's say, in everything happening here, there. And then after a point, I hit a little bit like a rock bottom, and I was like, oh my God, this PhD, oh, it's just, a pain in the ass. It's just sucking all my energy out. I don't know. And then I'm like, Ratla, you need to think about a bigger goal that is bigger than what you are doing right now. And it doesn't, um, anyway, change anything to do with that you are doing right now. It doesn't matter. But there is a goal, there is a higher purpose, and no matter if you finish or don't finish the PhD, you will be fine. You will be fine either way. So I think having that sort of a mentality helps me as well.
Yeah. At least you know what to do, and little setbacks are completely fine. Not that you have anything in your immediate
Yeah,
vicinity.
yeah.
Like I kind of took a long time to figure out what I want to do. That was a very long time. Like I had no idea when I was in school. Like I had no idea when I was not preparing for G. I didn't really exactly prepare for it. Like then I had to come in college, see the world outside of the small town.
Hmm.
Then finally realize, oh, okay, there are paths that are suitable for me, like which
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
slowly how I switch to design and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of makes sense. There is another thing that people like us often get labeled as, that is like being irresponsible. Like I don't agree with that, but I get that thrown around a lot. Do you
Me too.
face that?
Me too. I mean, let's say at least back in school, no one would call me responsible because I think I took up a lot as a child. I feel like at that age, I was like trying to manage a lot of things, and I did it well up till a point. Till a
Yeah,
point, but I don't think any child at that age should take up on so much. I mean, if I have a child someday, I would never tell him or her to take. I would be like, just do, just
but for
enjoy, just be
you, I
you.
don't think anyone forced it onto
No, no,
you.
no, no. It came naturally to me and it
Yeah, I get.
happened. But now when I think about it, I thought, yes, this is too much. I mean, I could have gone a little bit easy on myself. Why did I, wow, why did I beat myself up? No one, and I think I also enjoyed it till a point. I was like, good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You did.
Like, I feel now I am, like I said, this introversion side of me and everything coming out right now. Uh, it also got me to a point where I don't care anymore about a lot of things that I don't give a fuck. And
Welcome
that
to the club.
exactly, I think now I am slowly getting in your club, in your specific club, let's say. Yeah. Um, ha- and I have been labeled as being irresponsible. But I know I'm not. And I will terribly object to anyone who says that I'm irresponsible. I'm not.
I don't think you
I,
are either, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
but
have been labeled.
have you been labeled? When did you get labeled as one? I'm sure no one called you responsible in school.
No, 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 no. No one called it to me on my face. Let's say, no one called it. But irresponsible in the sense, like just maybe it was not even irresponsible. It was like being not being considerate of some timings or someone's commitments or something, and I was not doing it very consciously. I was just doing, and even in my personal relationship, home sometimes says, "Oh my God, you are being so responsible with the relationship. I don't know and I'm like, no, I need my time. I am not responsible. I'm just taking my space. So these are the things that came with time that he also now understands that there are certain moments where he needs to leave me just alone. And it is not me being irresponsible towards anyone or anything, or if I'm not showing up for something doesn't mean I'm being responsible or I'm not fulfilling some duties that I should. It is just because I don't want to, or it is just because yeah, I think I'm finding my own voice much more now than I had before. I'm, I think I'm really, I mean, I think I make people much more irritated or disappointed in me, around me, much more
I won't
now
say
than I ever did.
disappointed.
No, not disappointed, but at least look at me in a way like, ah, okay, maybe she's too much for me, in that sort of way. But not, but most of the people are good that I'm meeting now. Most they are like good. They are like someone who would be, yeah. Also because I'm surrounded by geeks, maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, it does come with the field. It does come with
Yeah,
the field.
yeah, yeah, mostly. But there are people, and especially people outside work, I face this
Oh,
problem with. That they say that
yeah, that
sometimes,
might be a completely different
yeah, yeah,
environment
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
you are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
working in a very research-oriented environment. That's a very world of its own. But
Very own, and inside that I have a very niche field. You understand that, right?
yeah,
And inside that I have problems with different sort of people, right? So the layers are pretty deep, yeah. And when you get used to handling something in a certain way for such a long time every day, you kind of become a different person. You kind of become what your work demands, or you become a little bit, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of things that I'm picking up on from every part of the world, from everyone I'm meeting, everyone I'm interacting with, that everything I liked about them, you know. It's a little bit of everything that I'm picking up on, and now I'm like, okay, you cannot put me in any box. You cannot label me anymore. I'm not someone you can just come and say, oh, she's this, you know, she's a smart ass, or she's like arrogant, or she's no, do not live. I do not. I think the problem with people interpreting me is that they cannot put me in a box. That is the problem with me. Yeah. With the Indian people here, I have the most problem with. I do not
Tell
this
me
is
about
true.
it.
This is true. Because they cannot, for the love of God, they cannot put me in anything Indian that they know.
Okay. I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
But I think the term you are trying to describe as a label for yourself is not irresponsible. It's more of being wait. I just forgot that term. Inconsiderate.
Yeah, inconsiderate. Maybe inconsiderate is a better word. Yeah. I
Yeah.
also feel no irresponsible. No one I think has even said it to my face. No, but did you face this? Like, did people say you're being
Oh, quite a
irresponsible?
bit. And I completely
Ah,
disagree. The
I
thing
never.
is,
Yeah, I never thought of you as irresponsible. But,
it makes sense for you not to think like that. But
no, you just
I get that level thrown a lot, and I completely disagree. While being called as lazy is something I let go of jokingly. I even use the term funnily myself. But being called irresponsible is something I don't agree with. I can see
Mm,
where they're coming from because people have their own. There's a general norm of how being responsible looks like, and
mm.
I don't fit in that. And the thing is, I avoid taking responsibilities because when I take a responsibility, I don't just take a responsibility, go through a checklist and say that I have been
Yeah,
responsible.
you will get super involved.
Yeah, so I try to avoid responsibilities, and that can give off the impression that I'm being responsible. And
Hmm.
I understand that, but yeah, that gets thrown about quite a bit. There is another thing that people say quite a bit is that us being a bit robotic, us not being emotional. Do you
Mm,
come that across a bit? I'm sure that is something you
no.
have come across.
So something for me, maybe I'm a little too emotional for everything. Not emotional, let's say, but like you said, I get overcommitted to whatever I do, right?
Yeah.
So what if I'm taking responsibility for anything, let's say I am overcommitted to it and I will see the end of it. And then there are people who might get frustrated because I see because they cannot keep up with it till the end of it. This is
I
something,
do that too.
yeah.
I do that
And
too.
then they will be like, okay, you don't understand what is going on. I'm walking out, and I'm like, but then what does it mean? I mean, I'm here investing all my time and energy into it because you started the entire conversation, and now you want to walk out in the middle of it, like doesn't make sense. And then I get super angry. I was like, what the fuck? I don't care. And I'm like, no, you have to sit and listen. If I have invested this much time, you better sit and listen.
You
you
do
know,
you do that. You do that.
I do that because yeah.
I do face that similar thing, but I don't do the second part that you do. I'm like
No,
that.
no,
I like,
I'm like,
oh, that you are done. Okay, you don't. You are done. I don't give a
no,
fuck. I'll complete it on
no.
my own. You can go out. I
I'm
don't
not
care.
this person. I will be like, I'll be like, no, and you have to sit and listen, and then people start labeling me. Say, oh, Ratula, don't get so emotionally attached to it. And no, it's not emotional attachment. It's because I've spent my time and so I'm not being labeled. No. So that's why there are two things with me. There are people who will label me as completely unemotional because they think I'm inconsiderate about stuff. And then there are people who think I'm too emotional because I get attached to my work or something that I'm investing time on or on a friend. And they do not get to walk away from that. If I will not let them walk away. Oh God. I mean, I know it's not the best way to handle situations, but and in those cases, I think your approach makes much more sense when you really think about what things to commit to and what things not to commit to, and
I
then
still
commit
lose my
to it.
balance though. I still lose my balance
Yeah. So this
even
is, I
after
think,
trying so much.
no, this is, I think, a balance. I think I should at least try to cultivate that, because I just now I'm at a point when I realize that it is really not worth investing my energy into a lot of things that I do,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people out there who do not give a damn whatever happens, even if they say they do or something like that. So
That is true. That is something that
disappointing.
is
It's
something I
disappointing.
struggle with as well. That is something I
Yeah,
struggle with as well. Like
yeah.
I end up doing way too many things and losing control. Luckily, I at least get the work part done. Otherwise, I would be in a much worse position. But yeah, that does happen. That does happen.
And I don't understand how other people just walk out of it like nothing. It didn't affect them. I'm like, so in my mind, how it's going on is like, if I am thinking so deeply about something, that means they are also doing it because they are also involved in it, but they're not. So it took me a really long time to understand that, yeah, they are really not as involved. They're not. They really do not think as deep.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
this is,
Yeah, that for the most people, it's not about involving into the thing. It's more about the concept of involving into something. Let's say being sustainable. That is a
yeah,
very
yeah.
buzz term now.
Hmm.
So since being sustainable is something that is looked in a positive way,
Hmm.
so for a lot of people, being able to say that they're being sustainable and being looked at in that positive way is
Hmm.
uh, where their intention of being involved ends. Like
Hmm.
they don't care
Yeah,
about
true.
being sustainable itself. They
Hmm.
care about being labeled as being sustainable.
The projection of the thing.
Yeah, the position of the thing, the position of being involved into something,
Yeah,
not contributing it, but knowing
exactly.
that they contributed. So
Hmm.
that makes a huge difference, and that is something I've noticed a lot gradually, which is
Hmm.
something that makes me disappointed. But luckily, I am good with you know detaching emotionally with that. Like although I
Hmm.
can see through it, I don't like it.
Hmm.
I find it disappointing. I'm
Hmm.
okay with I'm okay with the fact that they will not others will not be as involved into something as I am, even if they like to say they are.
This took me a long time. I mean, even now I lose balance of this because I'm I cannot make sense of this fact that how others cannot be as important as I am. And maybe it is also to a certain extent because I am so consumed with my thoughts at that particular moment about something that I fail to notice. I fail to notice what the others are thinking like or looking like or feeling like at that point. I really fail to notice it. I fail to read their emotions because
I
I'm so
see.
busy with myself. I'm like, okay, I have to think of this, and I already went like so far ahead with it in my head, and others are like, okay, we stopped like 2 minutes after you started thinking, and okay,
Yeah, yeah, that does happen. That does happen. The thing is, for me, I also like a part of that is also understanding what others are probably thinking and
Mhm.
bringing that into the processing part. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
that
It's being a little considerate, basically. Yeah, yeah, I
yeah, you
understand
can
this.
term it like that. So it has one positive outcome and one negative outcome. The positive
Mm.
outcome is I already know that they have stopped caring even before they realize they have stopped caring. So I'm okay with that. But since I'm thinking about them as well, besides what I'm doing, it usually makes me get overwhelmed. So
Mm.
after that, I need to step
I
away and
understand.
recharge a bit because I'm tired mentally.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
there's
Mentally,
yeah.
I am very exhausted mentally.
Here again, congratulations on completing part 2 of part 3 of the series. On the next part, which is part 3 and the final part of this 3-part series, and the next episode, we will be following up on our conversation on introversion versus extroversion, routines, dreaming, and collaboration versus competition, and of course some final thoughts for our fellow geeks and people who might not be a geek themselves but know a geek and wants some insight. So subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you're using, and see you soon on the next episode. Till then, keep exploring beyond the superficial. Bye bye.